in the ACIM gather, or you can listen on the radio, but there's not any other way to.
Thank you.
Okay, hi Sharon, Elizabeth, Karen, Sharanda. And I know a few people said they're going to be here. Hi, Elizabeth. Julie, who used to be in the group that Zulma led on the 50 principles, asked me for the link, so she should be here. She's from the Philadelphia area. That we used to have a group that met at 1:30. No, met at 3 o'clock. I'm sorry, every Monday, which is where I get the idea of a Monday group, because
Who
a lot
was
of
that though?
people.
That was years ago, right? Who was that on Mondays? I
What?
remember when you said that, I remembered a group at 3 o'clock. Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
it was a 3 o'clock group, and it ended about 3-4 months ago.
Yeah, me and Zuma had that. That was a 50
Yeah,
year.
it was Karen's group, right,
Oh, I
Yeah.
was in that group. Okay, no,
Yeah,
I was in
right.
that
that
group.
was
I thought
Karen's
you were
group, right.
talking about from years ago. There was a group too.
Yeah, that lasted almost a year.
That was a great, great thing to do. Now, I was reading with Cliff the book on grief, and that's a good book too. If we're going to do some kind of book study on,
Lolo, hi Lolo.
What book are you talking about, Sharon?
Lolo was part of that same group.
Hi, Doc.
We're talking about the group that used to meet on Mondays.
Oh,
Karen and Zuma's group.
Lola, her name is. Yeah, hi, Lola.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
book is Karen knows, Deb's book. Deb, what was it called again? I have it. I'll tell.
It was
It's
a
a
what?
it's
It
a
was
book.
50. It was 50 miracle principles with
Yeah,
Ken
but I
Wapnick.
mean,
Well,
like
she's talking about the grief book, I think.
the
She's talking about a
grief
different.
book. I was talking about a Buddhist monk wrote it. He works with people in hospice, and so it's a Zen hospice. It's called, and it's
What's
very and he's a
that's the name of the book, Sharon?
No, I'm going to get you the name. I just have to get it. I don't know where I put it.
I know. I never
I have
bought
a lot
it.
of books. If somebody, when I'm not here anymore, if somebody cleans out my house, they'll be like, what happened? This woman liked books. She couldn't have read them all. They got that one right. I'm thinking when I slow down, I'll read all of them. I must have about 500.
Oh, well,
Okay.
I hope you don't get like
All right.
me and lose your vision, and then you can't hardly see to read a book. You
Oh, I don't
that's ironic.
necessarily read. I do Audible more than anything else. So.
Yeah, and I can do like on Kindle or
And
something.
also my granddaughter said she's going to come, and she's not here yet, but she's from Tampa.
Is she
So
a course? Is she a course student?
Yes. I gave her the Course of Miracles 3-4 years ago. She's the closest thing to a course student in my family.
Because my family, nobody wants to do it. Nobody.
Yeah. Rubina, hi, Rubina, welcome. Rubina is in my Sunday morning class, Maureen's class.
Oh, she's so pretty. Look at her.
Hey,
Hi,
Rubina.
Rubina.
No, they're all
We know
pretty.
Rubina.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful beings. All of you.
Rubina lives down in Mexico, Guadalajara area, right?
She used to come into our groups on nonviolent communication with Mary and Joni. So
Okay.
Are you in Ahihi?
I think we're already being recorded on YouTube, so
absolutely.
Why don't we start?
All right.
And I took a look, and I think we did 3 paragraphs. We may have started a 4th, but let's do paragraph 4 anyway, because it seems to be a good entrance. The reason that we are on chapter 25, the justice of God, and specifically section 9, the justice of heaven, is basically most of the course. In fact, we were talking about that at the last Zoom class I had with Glenn Hoverman. Maybe John Mundy mentioned it yesterday at the celebration. But anyway, the course talks a lot about the ego, which we know. It mentions God all the time, but we don't know too much about God. Chapter 25 is the first chapter where they start really talking about the laws of God, the real laws of how God sees things, how God thinks. And of course, the main thought is he sees all as one. He sees all as equal. he sees all as the same. So differences do not exist in the mind of God. Exceptions do not exist in the mind of God. Inequality does not exist. So chapter 25 appears to be the first chapter that really just speaks to, well, who is God anyway? And Jesus uses the word justice to represent what God is. God is pure justice. And as we read section 9, which is the justice of heaven, we realize that justice is really our purpose. Our purpose is that all are created equal, the same, and there's no differences, there's no specialness. That is the justice of God, that all win together. No one could possibly lose. Now you contrast that to what this world looks like, and I don't have to tell you, the world is a world of conflict. I win, you lose, and that's the way. Whether you're talking about a war or a football game, or no matter what you're talking about, somebody is the winner and somebody is the loser. So let's start with paragraph 4, the sight of innocence, and thank you, Lynn, for putting it up. Does anyone want to start with the reading? Anyone at all?
I will, Doug.
Okay. Thank you, Rabina.
Okay, hi, I'm Rabina. I'm a child of God. Let's see. The Holy Spirit's problem solving is the way in which the problem ends. It has been solved because it has been met with justice. Until it has, it will.
Rabina,
Yes.
it's up on the thing.
Okay, the sight of innocence makes punishment impossible and justice sure. The Holy Spirit's perception leaves no ground for an attack. Only a loss could justify attack, and loss of any kind he cannot see. The world solves problems in another way. Yeah, that's true. It sees a resolution as a state in which it is decided who shall win and who shall lose, how much the one shall take, and how much can the loser still defend. Yet does the problem still remain unsolved, for only justice can set up a state in which there is no loser. No one left unfairly treated and deprived, and thus with grounds of vengeance. Problem solving cannot be vengeance, which at best can bring another problem added to the first, in which the murderer is not obvious. Now, to explain that, I don't know. I would have to really break it down.
Well, do you want to take any one sentence, Rabina, any one sentence, and something that attracts you, and speak on it? That's all.
Okay, yet does the problem still remain unsolved, for only justice can set up a state in which there is no loser. No, that's not the one. The world solves problems in another way. That stuck out. That's so true. It's either win or lose. It sees a resolution as a state in which is decided who shall win and who shall lose. That's what stuck out for me.
Right.
And that's so.
Well, that's absolutely true. I mean, the world looks the way it does because it's totally polarized. There's the good guys and the bad guys, and we all know who the good guys are, and we all know who the bad guys are. And somebody's got to win, and someone's got to lose. And we hope the good guys win. I mean, that's why the world doesn't work, and that's why there is no world, because God did not create a world of inequality or injustice. I mean, as a good senator from Vermont says, there's the haves and the have-nots, and the 1% have and the 90% have not, and the 90% wants what the 1% has, and that's pretty much what the whole world looks like. Len, I see your hand up, and then Karen.
Wow, yeah, this is great. And thank you for reading that, Rabina. Yeah, it's honestly, this is the whole story of the first miracle principle. There is no order of difficulty in miracles. Not one is bigger or worse or harder, or they're all the same. And all expressions of love are maximal. So the story of this is bigger and better, this is harder and smaller, whatever it is that we're comparing things in the world, we have to understand that they are all illusions. none of it is really happening. These are all just a story that we're telling ourselves in our mind about a situation we perceive. And if you it's like the ocean. You can have all the waves jumping up and going, I'm the best and I'm the best. But then in reality, they're all the same. It's all the same. There's no better, best, worse, more acceptable, less acceptable. It's all the same. And the only thing that's keeping us thinking that there are differences is because we want to see differences. And that's the problem. The problem is not that there are differences. The problem is that I want to see differences. I want to compare. I want to say one is better than the other. One is harder than the other. One is whatever it is. And the hint that he gives in that miracle principle about all expressions of love are maximal, he's saying the only answer that we have to these perceived problems that we see in our lives and in the world, in our bodies, in our communities, in our countries, in our whatever, the only answer to all of those problems is love. And any amount of love that is spent in looking at the problem, looking at the situation, any amount of love that is done doing that is the maximum amount of love that can be used for it. It means that it's the same amount of love as God's holy love. So if I'm looking at everything and saying this is love and God's love is all there is, then I can see that that as he says in the first sentence, the sight of innocence makes punishment impossible and justice sure. Once I realize that nothing has gone wrong, there is no problem. All of them are the same thing, and the only answer to the perceived problem is love, then that's I see that nobody's responsible, nothing has gone wrong, and it's it's all for love. Thank you, and let go of the mic for Karen.
Yeah, I just want to jump in. Yeah, love includes all equally, or it's not the love of God. And that's an easy way to get into accepting the atonement. I spent many years trying to say, well, how do I accept the atonement? By including my brother as myself. That's the easiest way, because it says once inclusion invites atonement automatically. You find that in chapter 6, section 2, paragraph 5. Inclusion. By including all equally, you have already accepted the atonement. Karen, go ahead.
Thank you, Dove. Thank you, Lynn. I love, Lynn, that you correlated this with the first miracle principle. And recently I was thinking about what you said about all expressions of love are maximal. And what came to me is how, this whole ego thought system is diametrically opposed from the Holy Spirit's thought system. So if we are in the Holy Spirit thought system and thinking with God, meaning listening to the Holy Spirit, then we're in 100% love. So no matter what loving thought we're having, it's maximal because that's it. There's nothing else. It's all or nothing. It's everything. It's being with the Holy Spirit, which is 100% love. So it couldn't be anything else. And I love what Dove shared about love looks on all equally and justice looks on all the same way. That's a quote from chapter 25, section 8. Love looks on all the same way. And this theme is throughout the course. And he correlates justice with forgiveness, that justice and forgiveness are the same. They're both illusions that end all illusions, seeing us all the same, having the same interests, recognizing that we're all here to awaken from this dream. And I love this first sentence, the Holy Spirit's problem solving is the way in which the problem ends. It has been solved because it has been met with justice. The reason for me that this works is because when I'm listening to the Holy Spirit, I'm seeing the whole picture. The Holy Spirit sees everything. He sees that everything is the same. There is nothing to judge. There is nothing to fear. There's only trust, and even if it's for that split second, the problem ends because I listened to the Holy Spirit. I let go of the ego thought system. I let go of the fear. And I'm kind of in that right now, trusting Holy Spirit, because I'm seeing a second opinion doctor for back surgery, and I'm trusting, because of myself, I know nothing, of myself. I don't know what to do. I don't know what anything is for. And I'm trusting that these doctors do, because they're the authority right now. I just wanted to quickly share something that I heard Rev Wayne share that I really loved. He said, life throws you curveballs. When you get hit by the pitch, take your base, take your base. And for me, taking my base is just accepting all things exactly as they are. And that's welcoming the Holy Spirit. That's problem solving for me. That's just taking my base, recognizing that this is what's happening now. He talked about a disability parking sticker thingy. I got one too now, I'm taking my base, and like, I never thought I'd ever get one. I never wanted one. I thought, no, I don't need that. Not out of embarrassment, just because I like to be able to walk. Well, now I can't walk. So now I'm taking my base, and that has a lot to do with trusting and accepting myself where I am, which only comes from the Holy Spirit, because the ego never accepts that. So I just wanted to throw that in, because that just came to my mind, and I just love this section.
Thank you so much, Karen, and thanks for bringing up that just take your base. Reminds me of my mantra lesson is lesson 25. I do not know what anything is for. And in the first paragraph, it says, everything is for your own best interest. That's taking your base. It says that is what it's for. That is its purpose. That is what it means. So even though you don't know what anything means, everything is for you. And there's nothing that's against this, except the ego is always seeing something outside that must be against, so I can be a poor victim.
Unknown caller.
Okay. I'm going to take the quote only because I don't. All right. Who wants to be the second reader? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Paragraph 5. I'll read it. Okay. The Holy Spirit's problem solving is the way in which the problem ends. It has been solved because it has been met with justice. Until it has, it will recur because it has not yet been solved. Wow, this is great. The principle that justice means no one can the principle that justice means no one can lose is crucial to this course, for miracles depend on justice, not as it is seen through this world's eyes, but as God knows it, and as knowledge is reflected in the sight the Holy Spirit gives. So what I hear him saying here is first that the Holy Spirit's problem solving is the way, the only way in which the problem ends. No matter what problem you're having, until you can take it to the Holy Spirit and give it over, it cannot be solved. And you can't just take it to the Holy Spirit and still hold on to it. It will not be solved until it has been solved, because it has been met with justice, which means that when we brought it to the Holy Spirit dispelled all of our illusions about it, and we saw it as it truly is. And that would be what we would call justice. But until it has, it will recur because it has not yet been solved. And this is a situation that happens all the time, where, oh my gosh, I thought I was over that. I used to have a terrible problem with jealousy, and oh, I thought I was over that. And then I see my partner, looking at another person with what I think is too much interest, and all of a sudden jealousy comes back up, and I'm like, oh my God, I thought that was gone. Why is this still here? Well, it's because I haven't actually turned it over to the Holy Spirit and let go of it. I'm still holding on to my right to be not cheated on or not I mean, it's just so silly when you think about it. But you think that there's some deep down thing inside of you that has been impacted by society and your family and your church, and everybody's told you this is how you should be acting and reacting in these situations in the world. And so justice says there's nothing to act or react about. Nothing is really happening here. Justice says everyone is innocent and nothing has gone wrong. So the idea that somehow when he says the principle that justice means no one can lose is crucial to this course. That's the whole thing. Jealousy says, I think I can lose. I think I've got an investment here. I can lose this thing that I um, you know, think is so important. And it's not just jealousy like a person with a spouse or a partner. It's jealousy of, oh, look, they won the lottery and I didn't, and I've bought 1 million tickets. I could have won, or um, in fact, I think it's the 9th or 10th commandment, thou shalt not covet. And I think I heard, was it Carolyn May? Somebody, I think, said that the idea thou shalt not covet is uh, the end of all our problems, because coveting is what got us into this situation, thinking that someone had something more than another, and that something that I could get it or I couldn't get it, and your country looks nice to me. I think I'll take over the border, or I mean, coveting is the number one bad habit of the ego. So, and coveting says, I like what you have better than what I have, or I want what you have and what I have, but it's always something that I think you have that I don't have. I'm thinking that God gave you something he didn't give me. And so I'm ready to fight, kill, and die for it, because I think, that's what gives me my value. So justice is the Holy Spirit saying, there's no difference. Get over it. We all have everything. Everyone has been given everything. God is not unfair, and God gave us all everything. Whatever your ego is telling you is a mistake. And you can let that go by bringing it to the Holy Spirit. And just keep an eye on that coveting. Anyway, that's a long explanation, but and I see Rabina has her hand up.
That was beautiful, and thank you.
Yeah, that brought up so many things, Lynn. One is you may have to help me with the saying, but didn't Einstein say the level of the problem? You have to go above the problem at the level of the problem. In other words, you got to take it to the he didn't say the Holy Spirit, but it's above the problem. You cannot fix the same mind with the same mind. So, and going back to jealousy, yeah, been there, done that. And it stems from low self-esteem. It's the ego telling me I'm less than, I'm not equal to. And this is telling me, no, that's not true. Justice. We're all this, I think we mentioned earlier, God shines on everyone equally. So it's the meaning that I put into it, and what one person may be jealous over, another person may not. It's the meaning that we put into it. But thank you for all those, and that was great.
Yeah, thank you for that, Rabina. And I want to mention the word crucial. Whenever he mentions the word crucial, not many times, but he says, this principle that justice means no one can lose is crucial to this course. And in this world, there's always for everyone that wins, someone must lose. For me to gain, it's always at somebody else's expense. So you can see this world is not the world of God. we made a hell of our own. It's almost like I think I mentioned this once before. My son-in-law says to me, you know, no one would actually watch football if there was no tackling. Someone has to get tackled in order for someone to win in football. Nobody would come to this world. I heard Ken Wapnick today say, you come to this world because the world is made as an attack on God. If the world was not made as an attack on God, you wouldn't come here. But we come here as an ego that's looking for justice. I win, God doesn't win. If God wins, I lose. So that's the bigger picture. If I win, I must win at God's expense, because if God finds me, I will not exist anymore. And that's true. The ego will not exist. The part of me that's called the ego is the me, I personality. It's not what God creates. God doesn't create me, I personalities. God creates spirit, and spirit lives in a state of grace forever. Karen, your hand is up.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Rabina. Sorry, I already shared on this. I was looking at the wrong paragraph. I didn't realize that I thought Lynn was reading it twice. I already shared on this, but I'm now noticing, since Dove read this sentence 4, the principle that justice means no one can lose is crucial to this course. It's just bringing me to chapter 6 in the message of the crucifixion. And, you know, it kind of goes in line with what Lynn was talking about with, you know, feeling basically unfairly treated, feeling inadequate, feeling, like Rabina said, basically, you know, not good enough, you know. And so he tells us here, he talks about the crucifixion, and he says that you are not persecuted, nor was I. You are not asked to repeat my experiences because the Holy Spirit, whom we share, makes this unnecessary. To use my experiences constructively, however, you must still follow my example in how to perceive them. My brothers and yours are constantly engaged in justifying the unjustifiable. And I love that he says that we're trying to justify something that's not true, that's not real. We are making it real. He's telling us that we are perfect, whole, and complete, and we're telling him we're not. Every time we're believing in jealousy, we're believing in anything that has to do with the body. And it's very difficult sometimes not to believe it, but I love to be reminded why he's telling us not to. He says, my one lesson, which I must teach as I learned it, is that no perception that is out of accord with the judgment of the Holy Spirit can be justified. No judgment, no perception that is out of accord with the judgment of the Holy Spirit can be justified. I undertook to show this was true in an extreme case merely because it would serve as a good teaching aid to those whose temptation to give into anger and assault would not be so extreme. I will with God that none of his sons should suffer. So he's reminding us that only the justice of the Holy Spirit can be justified. Only the perception of the Holy Spirit. So when I'm thinking that I could lose, when I'm thinking because I feel like I'm losing right now, you know, because I can't walk, you know, I can't do the things I want to do. I couldn't even go to physical therapy today because I couldn't walk. And it was just, I called physical therapy and like, oh, well, this is the time you should come. You should come when you're in pain like this, you know, we'll help you. And I'm like, well, I can't. And I'm like, no, I'm not coming. You know, it's like, I was a little bit angry, you know, and it's like, I created this. I made this. I'm doing this to myself, you know? And so I could have probably just went and maybe they would have probably helped me, but I was too stubborn and I wasn't listening to the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit's problem solving is the way in which this problem ends. It's just listening. It's just releasing the ego thought system and listening. And I need to hear all of this today. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Karen. I was looking at the word loss. Loss is just another word for death. And the dream, the central dream of all dreams is the dream of death. He tells you that in the course. So you can say the dream of death is just another euphemism for the dream of loss. We actually come here to lose. No one that leaves here, quote, alive. We come here to lose. It's really how the word sacrifice, the word that Jesus died as a sacrifice so that we could live, which was exactly what the apostles would teach after his death. He died so that we could live. And he said, no, I did not come for the crucifixion, I came for the resurrection, to show that God creates spirit life. He doesn't create bodies that can be nailed to a cross, of course. So even in India, no one talks about the word death in India. They simply say he dropped his body. So there is no loss. Death appears to be a loss, and those who grieve are grieving a loss, but everything happens for us perfectly. That's how this began. Rabina, your hand up. Go ahead.
Okay, you may throw fruit at me. However, okay, I understand everything's equal, but here in this world, and I kind of go along with this, that, I don't go along with this. Today's world is everybody gets a trophy, but they don't get, but nobody, everybody's equal. But the really good guy, the guy that really excels in sports, in baseball or football, I can see them losing motivation due to the fact that everybody gets a trophy, So how does that work out? I mean, in this world, we see people losing motivation. Why should I even try? But yet everybody's equal, So how does that work out in the world?
Rubina, they're not talking about this world. They're talking about our home in heaven. Heaven is only mentioned once or twice in the course. My favorite expression is heaven is simply an awareness of perfect oneness. It doesn't talk much more about heaven in the entire course. But we're talking about the justice of heaven. This is not taking place here in this world. In this world, there's only going to be one trophy winner. The rest don't win trophies. Nobody wins a trophy except the one who is awarded the trophy, and that's once a year. And he gets a trophy, and no one else gets a trophy. The team that wins the Super Bowl, they all get rings. Their Super Bowl ring. Nobody else of all the other 31 teams, no one else gets a ring. Someone must lose for someone to gain. That's this world, which is upside down from heaven. In heaven, there's no winners, there's no losers. All must win together. We all gain together. Why is that? Because we're of one mind, not two, one.
But isn't heaven here on earth as well? Don't we bring heaven? Isn't heaven here on earth? Don't I have heaven within? Or am I just, am I such a newbie?
Yes,
Hey,
but
how do I live on this earth?
Because we have two teachers. We have two teachers. You might say the purpose of this course is to have you let go of the ego as your teacher that teaches that you have to win at someone else's expense, and take the Holy Spirit as your teacher, which exactly this whole paragraph is about. Holy Spirit
Right.
problem solving is the way in which the problem ends. All win together, all are included together. There's no winners and losers.
Okay. All right.
All right, Lynn, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a really interesting discussion, Rabina. And I think about this a lot because I see that, um, especially like kids in school. Sorry, I have to take a drink there. Kids in school are taught to compete. We start out from the very beginning in our lives being taught to compete. My baby walked faster or sooner than your baby did. My baby is more beautiful than your baby. Baby can read. My baby can talk. We start out looking at our babies and saying, "Oh, you're better than the other babies because you got this thing." And just that's a very subjective thing. It says, I think that talking is very important, or I think walking is very important. I think being ahead of everybody else is very important. And we give ourselves and we give our children a whole system where they're thinking only of, beating other people, being the best, being the most, whatever. And what happens is we get so involved in the competition that we lose the fun of the game. And
Right.
I see that in sports. I see that with, when little kids go into school and they first start in like the first and second grade, they're playing games. And there's not like, oh, you're going to become a Major League Baseball player. It's like kids just playing games. But as they get older and it becomes more serious, then we start picking out the better kids and the kids that have the most talent. And we put them in a place where they're treated in a different way and given different privileges. And they have to work harder at their sport or whatever, that becomes a part of their life that, that no longer is the game for fun. Now the game is for prestige or money or whatever, or so that I can get into the Olympics, or so that I can get into college. I can get a scholarship and go to college if I'm really good in baseball and better than the other kids. So we set up our kids to be in competition with each other over things that really are games and should just be fun. And, you may think, well, yeah, but winning is the most important thing. Or, I feel good about myself when I win, or I feel bad about myself when I lose. Well, that's the whole ego. That's how that's how the ego's set up, is to manipulate the way that you feel about yourself and the way that you think about yourself so that you forget your holy purpose. And the holy
Mhm.
purpose here is to have fun. Where God's will for me is perfect happiness. God's will is not for me to win the World Series, but a lot of people think that it's God's will that they are winning at basketball, or uh, they're beating. The competition is not a healthy thing. As much as you may want to, um, look at it, it makes a kid a better person or whatever. Um, it doesn't make people better. It makes people compare themselves to each other, and compare other people to other people, and separate and segregate more and more and more. And so, anyway, that's what I have to say about competition. That's in the world. That's the world. It's the same thing in my own personal spiritual belief as well. I was telling Karen earlier today, and you guys, some of you know, my favorite lesson in A Course in Miracles is lesson 181. I trust my brothers who are one with me. And it's all about how I perceive my brother and what I think about them, whether I see them as equal to me or not. And unfortunately, you can't have competition and equality at the same time. Either either you give all to all, or you judge and continue the story. Anyway, enough of all that. I just
harm
had that to say about the competition thing.
Right. It bleeds into other areas and you continue to harm yourself. I get it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sharanda, thank you.
Thank you for this discussion today.
You're on mute, Sharanda.
There we go, thanks. So thanks for this discussion. I may jump around a little bit. So this thing about coveting or envy, jealousy, I've really been working with that. The choices I've made in my life to follow guidance, and every choice I've made since then, good or bad, however you want to look at it, I'm in a situation today where I have some real challenges. And again, I see people who have more than I have in appearance. People who are traveling in the summer, people who are in Europe, family, friends. My niece is now living on the property that my parents owned after I left home after college. They bought a house on a lake. How's that for timing? But it's not for me to live on that lake in Wisconsin. And that house that was my parents was never mine. It was my parents. Then my sister owned it. It was theirs. It was never mine. And now it belongs to my sister's daughter. But when I see pictures of, I can feel a lot of feelings coming up. When I see pictures of her kayaking in the early morning on the lake that I also love, I have to deal with that. I see, anyway, all of that stuff. You guys know what I'm saying. I taught deaf kids in the school system in Ohio for 21 years. I see kids, they're 60 years old, for God's sake. I see students posting on Facebook, and to me, every one of them has more than I have in appearance, from the smartest to the not so smart kids that I worked with. And I have to keep working with it. And for me, it really comes down to trust. Do I trust my path? Do I trust what's before me that has given me the learnings that I need to go through, and know that I'm being deprived of nothing? I have, my essential needs are met. And what are my essential needs? They're mostly not of the world. And I'm not here to have this or that in the world. I'm here not even to become a better human being. I'm here to remember God. I'm here to be of service. And so I have to stay focused on that goal. It's like a change of focus from all these values of the world to spiritual valuing and spiritual life, because I'm living that. But that ego wants to say, you dummy, you really blew it. I have to not listen to that voice. And I'll say this real quickly, and it goes with it. It's like, I too have been having challenges with mobility. I live 12 minutes from Sedona. I'm not out there with my camera hiking in the Red Rocks. And sometimes I'm like, ouch. But you know what? I'm not here to be hiking out on the trails. I would like to do that again, but that's not what my life is about today. My life is to do this study. I'm here with you. I was going to say you guys. I'm here with all of you doing this study so that I can practice and live as a son of God. And I have to stay focused on that and trust. It's always coming back to trust and knowing I cannot be denied of anything, because there's that voice that says, I am being denied. Oh, isn't it a shame for Sharonda? Look what happened to her. She's the one that used to own homes and people would come and live with her for this reason or not. And now I'm living with friends. It's like, what meaning do I want to give it, right? I'm so glad to be with you, and thank you for this study and your companionship today.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for that, Sharanda. That was a beautiful sharing. It
Thank
kind of
you.
reminds me. I'm sorry, what?
Thank you for being transparent.
Okay, it kind of reminds me of the word hobby. Yesterday, John Mundy mentioned that Beth Gear lives on a hobby farm, and I didn't know what a hobby farm was. And then John said, "Well, I was also brought up on a farm, but that was a commercial farm." And then instantly I understood what hobby was. A hobby farm is you are doing your own thing, whatever your interest is, and that's it. It's not the same as like I get calls almost all the time. Do you want to invest in this? You want to invest in that? I say no, I'm not interested in investing. Say, how could you not be interested in investing? Because I live a Course in Miracles life, or a hobby life, or a hobby love life. So hobby is now a new part of my vocabulary. And I just want to point out just one other thing on all of this. It says, I put it up here, justice sees that we all share the same interest. That's what justice is, that we all share the same interest. In this world, no one thinks that their interest is the same as their neighbors. I mean, my interest is that I keep my grass green, and he doesn't keep his grass, so I don't share his interest at all. No, we all share the same interest. It has nothing to do with grass or green or anything in this world. We all want to remember the truth. The truth is that we are the one Son of God. We are the creation. God is the creator. We are the co-creator. That is what's really valuable. And from lesson 133, what do I really value? If it's not shared by all, it has no value whatsoever. And I mention this all the time. Lesson 133, Jesus says, this is a very practical lesson. Why is it practical? Because he's telling you, whatever you're valuing in this world, if it's not shared by all, it has no value whatsoever. The name of the lesson is, I will not value the valueless. What's valuable belongs to me already and belongs to all equally. The word equal and all and shared interest, all of those are saying what heaven is like. Is that helpful, Rubina?
Yes, it is helpful.
Okay.
But the ego says, however, but I won't say that.
Oh, go ahead. The ego
No,
says,
it's
however.
ego will say, but that's all I'm saying. But what about this? And the ego will
Of
always say,
course, the ego always says that. I mean, that is, that's recognizing your ego thoughts by watching your thoughts. But when you watch your thoughts, you recognize whenever you hear a but, that's the ego's butting in, or however the ego has another way of seeing everything. And no matter what you say, the ego says, well, however, there's another way of seeing it. But notice that it's not the same. There's a line in the course, and we're here at the end of the year, and we're starting a new year, and the line says, make this new year different by making it all the same. So sameness and oneness and equality is really the words that Jesus is bringing to us. If you don't see equality, if you don't love all equally, that's not the love of God. That's the love of the ego. Well, I have favorites. I have favorites. And if you're a parent and you're a loving parent, you really have no favorites. You might, you might say, well, no, Doug, that is not true. I do have favorites, but that's okay. You can favor vanilla over chocolate. That's okay. That's really called a preference. But when it gets to the holy instant, he says, listen, you can have preferences, but but don't hold on to any preferences when you enter the holy instant, because they don't really mean anything. You have a preference, but if you're not whole and loving to all equally, you can't enter the holy instant. You can't be with God if you attack any of his sons. You cannot be with the love of God, if you attack any one of his children. Okay. Let's move on to paragraph 6. Thanks.
Karen,
Karen
something to
had
say.
her hand.
What?
Karen has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see it. Karen, go ahead.
Yeah, I just love this conversation. Thank you, Rabina. Thank you, Sharonda. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Dub. Everything that was shared was so amazing. And when Sabina was sharing about the trophy, and I was thinking to myself, can I be happy for my brother who wins a trophy? And then when I was thinking about Sharonda, I was thinking, can I be happy for my niece for getting that house? Can I be happy for them? And what am I to learn here? What is the lesson here? There's a lesson in this, you know, and it comes and it reminded me of what Lynn said about, you can't have competition and equality at the same time. So this is where the jealousy comes in, and love makes no comparison. So I love what Sharonda said something. I didn't write it down, so I'm going to paraphrase it, because if I don't write it down, it loses me. But I remember the gist of it. You said something like, your only really happiness is in God. You said something to that effect. Well, what came to me, and that's the truth. The thing that came to me is lesson 37, which is, my holiness blesses the world. And this ties in perfectly with what we're reading here, because he says, this idea contains the first glimmerings of your true function in the world, or why you are here. Your purpose is to see the world through your own holiness. Thus are you and the world blessed together. No one loses. Nothing is taken away from anyone. Everyone gains through your holy vision. It signifies the end of sacrifice because it offers everyone his full due, and he is entitled to everything because it is his birthright as a son of God. So when we give it over to the Holy Spirit, we see through Christ's vision, and we see everyone equally. We don't make comparisons. That's the step we seem to forget. We seem to forget to ask the Holy Spirit to help me see this differently. I'm seeing my brother as different. I'm judging my brother. I'm jealous. I'm this, I'm that. I'm angry. I'm whatever. And it's always giving it to the Holy Spirit, and the problem ends. So it's remembering who we are as God created us. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for that, Karen. Okay. Is there anything else before we go on to paragraph 6? Who wants to read for paragraph 6? Thanks.
I can read, Dove.
Thank you, please.
Sure. No one deserves to lose, and what would be unjust to him cannot occur. Healing must be for everyone, because he does not merit an attack of any kind. What order can there be in miracles unless someone deserves to suffer more and others less? And is this justice to the wholly innocent? A miracle is justice. It is not a special gift to some to be withheld from others as less worthy, more condemned, and thus apart from healing. Who is there who can be separate from salvation if its purpose is the end of specialness? Who is there who can be separate from salvation if its purpose is the end of specialness? Where is salvation's justice if some errors are unforgivable and warrant vengeance in place of healing and return of peace? That's beautiful. Thank you.
Okay. You want to comment on any of that, Sharonda?
No, I'm just going to be with it right now. Thanks, Dove.
Okay. Does anyone have any thoughts, questions on that paragraph? No one deserves to lose. Well, in this world, death is loss. I mean, all come to a dry and dusty desert where there's no water to drink, and sooner or later, what we call life becomes death. So, in this world, which is upside down from heaven, which is eternal, which is without limits, we come into a world where we're in a body which is very limited. The body cannot hold the Son of God, but we go through pains and hurts and all kinds of stuff, and we do that because we think that we have done something wrong. I mean, the word guilt is the word sin and guilt and blame and shame. Those are words that actually cause us to see things outside of us that are doing something to us, which is not true because there's nothing outside of us. We are one, but our perception, it's really a misperception, sees that I am unfairly, beware of the temptation to perceive yourself unfairly treated, feel unfairly treated, whether that's in school or in a marriage, in a family. I mean, that's what loss is, that I am unfairly treated. Are there any thoughts on that? Lynn, your hand's up.
Yeah, thank you, Dove. Yeah, this is there's something that I, only as long as I've been studying this course, only really very recently within the past few years, couple years, has it really occurred to me when I have read a paragraph like this, I would think, well, I'm not attacking. I don't know, so this must not have anything to do with me. I'm not uh I'm not seeing other people as being guilty. It doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm always looking to forgive errors and not be vengeful. So this doesn't really have anything to do with me. The all these years I'm looking at this saying this doesn't have anything to do with me because I'm not doing those things. But just like when I first started learning about nonviolent communication, and I said, "Oh, I'm not a violent communicator, so this really doesn't have anything to do with me." And then I started seeing the depths to which to which our just even our language and the way that we communicate with people is actually built to be violent and attacking and judgmental. There's so much judgment. Our entire language is just filled with judgment, and we consistently judge ourselves and others and the world itself and the environment and the government and the church and I just didn't even realize how much attacking I was doing because it seemed like so normal. And it seemed like, well, this is what everybody does. This is not anything that's out of the ordinary. I just thought, everybody thinks this way, so it's okay. But no, Jesus is saying, this is not okay. It's not okay to think that, some people deserve things and other people don't, or you deserve more, or you deserve less, or that somehow God liked some people better than others, or one government is better than another, or one, it's all they're all the same. Every single thing. One church is better than another, one book is better than another. They're all the same thing. It's just that we're seeing them as being different and giving values to them. One teacher, lots of teaching going on in this ACIM community. And lots of people are like, oh, he's a really good teacher. Oh, she's a really good teacher. She's not such a good teacher. I'm not real keen on her. I don't like her opinions about politics or whatever. I mean, we amongst each other look at each other and see each other as being unworthy. And think about it. I know that I do because do make those comparisons. So I know I'm looking at one teacher as being worthy and another teacher being not worthy. One book as being worthy and another book as not worthy all the time. This is not a mystery. This is not I'm not doing that. That's not me. It is me. It's absolutely me doing it. So this is Jesus talking to me and saying, you have to stop attacking on all fronts. You have to just look and see justice is that everyone deserves everything and all is fair. Everything, everyone, everywhere. We're all equal beings. None of us are different. None of us have more more important needs than another. All just as you were saying, Dove. And of course, that's what what makes a teacher of God, someone who has looked and said his interests are not any different than his brothers. My interest and your interest is the same. My needs and your needs are the same. That's a miracle to come to that place where you fully recognize and understand the absolute equality of the sonship and the absolute equality of the teachers and the absolute equality of the books and the absolute equality of the governments and everything is equal. In the dream, it's all equally wrong, or not wrong, but not unreal. And in reality, it's all equally one thing, one sonship under God. Absolutely. So that's I guess all my big rant here. Uh, it's just the idea of what he's saying. Who is there who can be separate from salvation if its purpose is the end of specialness? The end of specialness. Nothing better than another. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Lynn. Yeah. Sharanda, go ahead.
Thank you. So my attention went to that first sentence, no one deserves to lose. And again, going back to the development of trust, I know for myself, I have to keep trusting. Well, what does the development of trust says? It says it seems like things are being taken from us at times, that we're losing, whatever the language in that section. And but we're actually learning what has value and what has none. So I would just say with my own situation over the last years, there's times I've given away much of what filled my house, my home, and to agencies, to friends. And today I can look at that, and part of me, I can covet having those things back. It's like, isn't that a silly thing? But I'm recognizing they have no value. And so I'm having these experiences and they're not fun. And so what I want to do is learn to give and let go with more joy and not be clutching as if I'm losing something. But these things have no values. Again, I have to know my purpose here is to shift towards a growing awareness of God. And that's where my real joy and my real everything comes from. I can't even name it. I don't have to name it. I just need to keep taking the next step, and growing and faith and willingness to really have direct experiences of the mystery of God. And yeah, I didn't know what I was signing up for. I mean, in the 80s, I remember getting involved with spirituality and people said, oh yeah, just you need a parking space? Well, just start manifesting parking spaces. Well, this path is a lot more than manifesting parking spaces or anything. Am I doing my study today to have a healing or to have my needs met? I have to work with that. I'm doing my study and my practice so that I will know God, so that I will remember God, so that I can know who I am and be less judgmental, be less all of that stuff that is just divisive. Thanks to Course in Miracles, thanks to Christian Science, Joe Goldsmith, and the Age of Wisdom teachings, I find again and again, I can watch the news or have situations in my personal life and I can bless people. It's not always easy, but truly I can bless people and mean it. That's amazing. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for that, Sharanda. Thanks. Karen, go ahead.
Thank you, Sharonda. That is everything. And, it's reminding me where he tells us that, having and being are the same. We already have everything. We are all one, and recognizing that. And it's also reminding me again of the first miracle principle here when he says in sentence 4, what order can there be in miracles unless someone deserves to suffer more and others less? And is this justice to the wholly innocent? A miracle is justice. So just asking the Holy Spirit in every single moment when I'm feeling jealous, when I'm feeling unworthy, when I'm feeling like whatever, and that's all I have to do. And just to remember, because That is my link to God. That is the link to the truth of who I am. So the Holy Spirit's problem solving is the way in which the problem ends. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Yeah. And I just want to point out this paragraph uses salvation. And I see that Elizabeth says in the chat, yes, the gentle, merciful end of specialness. And the paragraph says, who is there who can be separate from salvation if its purpose is the end of specialness? Now, specialness is what makes us seem to be different and see others as different. After all, if I'm special, others can't be more special. Well, maybe they are more special, but they're usually less special. If I'm special, they aren't as special as I am. That's where all the differences are. And if you're obviously doing the course, you know that the whole idea of the ego is it loves to be special, and we have special relationships. We choose special people to be our partner. I don't, I'm only happy with this person. I'm not happy with somebody else. And that's the idea that we have a split mind. We have a split mind. The mind is polarized. You might say that we're all bipolar. I mean, as Ken Wapnick said, we're all paranoid, schizophrenic. Paranoid means that we're afraid of something that doesn't really exist. And with schizophrenic, we hear a voice that doesn't really exist. So, we're all in the same boat in this world. But this paragraph, this section, chapter 25, section 9, is not about this world. It's about our true home, where you live in peace. And peace comes from that everyone has everything. No one has anything that someone else doesn't have. And the only thing that has any value is something that is eternal, that you cannot lose. That which is timeless, eternal, is given to all equally. A loving father, if the father is a loving, kind father, he gives to all equally. He doesn't give one more special than another. Karen, your hand is up.
Yeah, thank you, Dove. And what's coming to me is exactly what you said earlier. In sentence 3, healing must be for everyone because he does not merit an attack of any kind. So what's coming to me is when you said, sharing the same interests, he talks about that a lot in the manual. And also what comes to me is that we all share the same interest in awakening from this dream of separation. So why would I want to attack my brother when he's going through the same thing I'm going through, just in a different form? Nobody here is free. Nobody. Anybody who's, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, as long as you're a body here in form, there's going to be challenges. So, and that's the only way we can overcome them is through asking the Holy Spirit. So why would I want to attack my brother when we're all the same? We're all, that one saying that I love, and it's be kind to everyone because everyone is fighting a hard battle. We're all fighting a hard battle. So we need to just, accept each other, love each other, and just remember who we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Yeah. It kind of puts the cherry on top. Thank you. Okay. I think we're on paragraph 7. Thank you. Paragraph 7, salvation cannot seek to help God's Son be more unfair than he has already sought to be. Anyone want to read that?
I'll read it.
All right. Thank you, Karen.
Salvation cannot seek to help God's Son be more unfair than he has sought to be. If miracles, the Holy Spirit's gift, were given specially to an elect and special group and kept apart from others as less deserving, then is he ally to specialness. What he cannot perceive, he bears no witness to. And everyone is equally entitled to his gifts of healing and deliverance and peace. To give a problem to the Holy Spirit to solve for you means that you want it solved. To keep it for yourself to solve without his help is to decide it should remain unsettled, unresolved, and lasting in its power of injustice and attack. No one can be unjust to you unless you have decided first to be unjust. And then must problem rise to block your way and peace be scattered to the winds of hate. Yes. Oh, this is great. Yeah. Everything in here is wonderful. But what's really sticking out to me is that starting at 6, to keep it for yourself is to solve without his help, is to decide it should remain unsettled, unresolved, and lasting in its power. So I am doing this to myself. No one can be unjust to you unless you have decided to be first unjust to yourself. So this is the freedom here. This gives me a lot of peace and a lot of freedom, knowing that, I am doing this to myself. All I need to do is to give it over. It's a constantly giving over all day long. And I can't blame anyone but myself. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen. I just want to say, when you do trust in the manual for teachers and the 6 steps in trust, trust is all about trusting Holy Spirit with every problem, going to him with everything 100%. If you hold anything back, that's a lack of trust, literally. That's what trust is. Trust is that I know that I am God's son. I listen to God's teacher. God sends his teacher to me. I can choose between the Holy Spirit or the ego. Keeping it for myself is I'm choosing the ego. And if you're choosing the ego, you get to look at lesson number 5, which was Ken Wapnick's favorite lesson. I am never upset for the reason I think, well, you're upset because you're listening to the ego. That's why you're upset. Has nothing to do with the problem. Problems by themselves are absolutely nothing. The Holy Spirit doesn't see problems. He sees you as the Son of God. He sees what's perfect. He doesn't see what's imperfect. Ego sees what's imperfect because the ego is imperfect. Are there any thoughts on that? Okay. We're moving along. Paragraph 8. Thank you, Lynn. Unless you think that all your brothers have an equal right to miracles with you, you will not claim your right to them. Does anyone want to read that? Go ahead. No readers for it? I'll read it. Unless you think that all your brothers have an equal right to miracles with you, you will not claim your right to them because you were unjust to one with equal rights. So the last paragraph was also talking about no one could be unjust to you unless you were unjust to them. And that's just a repetition of, if someone doesn't speak of Christ to you, you didn't speak of Christ to them. I mean, he really repeats himself over and over using different words, but words are just twice removed from the experience. So whatever happens to you, you're really doing it to yourself. The secret of salvation is I'm doing this to myself. It goes on to say, seek to deprive, and you have been deprived. So as he says many times in the course, you cannot be deprived except by yourself. Only you can deprive yourself. Only you can deprive yourself. Now, if you feel deprived, you got to go to the Holy Spirit and say, what is this for? I feel deprived. Please show me what this is for. Because if you're going to try and figure it out for yourself, you're just going to go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. Goes on to say, a miracle can never be received because another could receive it not. Yeah, I mean, miracles are given to all equally. Miracles are, it's like God is an equal opportunity miracle giver. I mean, miracles fall like drops of rain on a dry and dusty desert. Only forgiveness offers miracles. Only forgiveness offers miracles. That's why this course is about forgiveness. And forgiveness is the key to happiness. If I feel deprived, I feel upset, if I feel anything, I have not looked at it correctly. Forgiveness just looks at exactly as Karen took from Ken Wapnick. He says, don't look at it the way you set it up. Look at it the way it really is. You're the dream of this dream. You want this to happen. You're doing it to yourself. Only forgiveness offers miracles, and pardon must be just to everyone. Everyone means all equally, everyone. Karen, your hand is up.
Yeah, thanks, Dov. This is reminding me of lesson 46. God is the love in which I forgive. Where he says here, unless you think that all your brothers have an equal right to miracles with you, you will not claim your right to them because you were unjust to one with equal rights. And he tells us in this lesson that it does not matter how much you have not forgiven them. You have forgiven them entirely or not at all. And what that means to me is that if I'm holding, it's myself. It always comes back to myself. I am holding that one spot of darkness in my mind that I'm not forgiving, and I'm projecting it out onto you. And I'm thinking you're the one, with the problem, because I don't want to look at it. So I can't see you as equal to me because I haven't forgiven something in myself. And forgiveness and equality, forgiveness, justice, and equality, they're really all the same. They're all saying the same things. So forgiveness is total, because when we forgive, we're forgiving through the Holy Spirit, who is 100% love. And if I have left one brother out, I have to take a look at that. Who am I not forgiving here? Who am I still holding a grudge against? Who am I still thinking is, not deserving? And that is, I'm looking really at myself, that I'm really the one that's not deserving. Where am I unhealed in my own mind? So I always love that you're forgiving them entirely or not at all. Thank you.
That's beautiful teaching, Karen. Thank you so much. Lynn?
Yeah, that is beautiful teaching, Karen, and exactly as you just said, if I leave one brother out, and that's not, this is our work. I mean, this is the work that we do as miracle workers, is we look for the places in our mind where we are holding a grudge, thinking that a person is a bad person, or thinking that, I mean, it could be any day. You could turn on the TV, watch the news, and look at how many grudges you have against people that, they didn't do this, or they didn't do that, or they did this, or they did, we have all sorts of judgments in our minds about these figures in our dream that we believe are undeserving. We believe that they are wrong or bad or sinful or evil. And it's really ourselves that we're projecting out there our own belief on our own guilt, our own belief in our own unworthiness. When I'm feeling unworthy, then it's so much easier to project that onto somebody else and see, well, yeah, but they're less worthy than I am. As unworthy as I am, boy, they are definitely less worthy than I am. And or maybe more worthy and I'm unworthy, whatever it is. But the whole idea is, if I can't receive if I can't be open to receive the miracle, which is the blessing of my worthiness. It's the truth about what I am and the truth about what my brother is. If I don't see my brother as being worthy, I'm not seeing myself as being worthy, and neither one of us, well, can receive the miracle. And this is a very important principle. Giving and receiving are the same. If I can't give, I can't receive. And if I can't receive, I can't give.
Yeah.
And so that's and the thing that's blocking the ability to give and receive is this um, belief in unworthiness and sin uh, and guilt. I mean, that's the whole purpose of it, is to keep us caught up, mired up in this world of, unworthiness and guilt. And sure enough, I can't receive love because I am holding back, withholding love from someone that I believe is unworthy. And that's what Jesus says in text chapter 5, section 7. I must have reacted with a lack of love to one of God's creations, and that's why I'm feeling bad. And the only thing that can work it out is take it to the Holy Spirit and let the Holy Spirit help me heal with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Len. Yeah. And that lack of love that you talk about goes perfectly with the metaphor that Ken Wapnick likes to use. He says, if you're in a movie theater and a little speck of dust falls on the film from the projector room, it's going to be on the screen as a spot of dirt or dust. And that's what a lack of love is. A lack of love is a spot of dirt, darkness. Darkness is probably, it's darkness, and the love is not whole and complete. So I put up on the board, the ego literally lives by comparison. So like you and I think that we live by breathing air. The ego doesn't need air to breathe. The ego uses you for a body. The ego lives by comparison. And the moment you compare, there's a little speck of dust over here. It could be a Rorschach ink blot. I don't know. You're going to see it out there. And that's why the world always looks so crazy, because it started over here. The ego is an insane teacher. I mean, we made the ego, you might say, when we forgot to laugh when a tiny mad is another word for insane, a tiny insane idea entered into the eternity, and the Son of God took it seriously. He said, I can win. I'm better. I'm different. I'm special. I'm better than you. I can win. That's insanity. And with that, I'm laughing at my own insanity. I think we're on paragraph 9, unless we have 5 more minutes. Let's see if we can do paragraph 9. Thanks.
You want me to read it?
Want to read? Yeah,
I
Sharon,
can read
please.
it.
Thank you.
Oh,
Which one do you want me to read? Is it, which one?
It's 9.
Right, that's what I thought. The little problems that you keep and hide become your secret sins because you did not choose to let them be removed for you. And so they gather dust and grow until they cover everything that you perceive and leave you fair to no one. Not one right do you believe you have. And bitterness with vengeance justified and mercy lost condemns you as unworthy of forgiveness. The unforgiven have no mercy to bestow upon another. That is why your sole responsibility must be to take forgiveness for yourself. So, the way I see this, this is like a cumulative effect. It happens by itself. The way I'm doing it, we're really being lived by consciousness. So the way I see, consciousness living through Sharon is that a lot of the stuff that I used to be upset about, it's fallen away. And it's the practice of just realizing that there's nothing that the world has to give me, nothing. Now, in the same way, it used to bother me when I would come onto these groups in the beginning when I couldn't get rid of, my grievances. So what Jesus continues to say over and over, and I always bring it up, this is a process. If you still have a grievance, don't beat yourself up. It's okay. I had a lot of grievances. It's not like I could do any of it. They fall away naturally with the willingness of just knowing that you're in God. When the woman was, I forget her name, the woman that was sharing about in the world, I could see where she would say, how can she forgive, in a world like this? And I want to say this, I couldn't do this by myself. Like Jesus says, of my own, I can do nothing, right? An ego cannot let go of this. This is happening from the self. Egos are not able to really forgive. You can look at your mind and see there's still dark corners in there. So to me, it's just being with this teaching. All teachings are saying the same thing. And what are they saying? That nothing happened. This is Sharon. I'm dreaming of this character Sharon in my mind, and I think she means something. That's what this whole thing is about. And I feel like, even when we have an awakening, it means nothing, you see, because we're still in heaven. So whatever we do here is meaningless. So why not love? Because that's who we are, and everybody is love. So when I see myself as love, formless, then everyone else is. But again, I always say this because of the way I felt. And I don't remember if people would say it's a process, but I'm sure they did. The one teacher I know that did was Ken Wapnick. He says it over and over because he's had some crazy people tell him they did the course in a week. That is not possible.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Are there any questions or thoughts on number 9? I noticed that 10 is the last paragraph, which we're not going to have time if we stop at 3 o'clock. I also noticed that the last line is in italics. I just want to read it. The last line in section 10, section 9. What is God's belongs to everyone and is his due. To me, that says God is totally fair in everything. He gives all to all. Notice the number 1 of the 3 lessons of the Holy Spirit is to give all to all. The ego says, what are you, crazy? I'm nothing for myself. So what God is totally giving and fair. We, on the other hand, think that God kept all the power to himself. So we want to build our own worlds so we can take the power back. I also noticed that next Monday is Christmas, and the Monday that follows that is New Year's. Hi, Susan Michelle, how are you? So I don't know if we're meeting on Monday. I'm okay to meet on Christmas. Hi, Regis, welcome. Do we
I can
meet?
I would meet. I would love
I'm
it.
fine with meeting on Christmas. I don't have any plans right now, so
Okay, I would love to meet next Monday. And also I just want to say paragraph 10 is the last of section 9, which is the justice of heaven. And then we go back to the justice of God, section 1, and we go, there's 9 sections. We just did the last section because I really felt that the justice of heaven had so much to say to us. And now we have kind of a way to look at sections 1 through 8 much easier. That's my own feeling on it.
that's
So
beautiful.
love to see all of you next Monday. And we'll go from there. We start with paragraph 10 of the last section, the justice of heaven, and then we start all over again, chapter 25, section 1.
Wow.
All right. Thank you all
Thank
so
you so
much.
Thank
much.
you
It
all
was
for being here.
wonderful, Doug. It was great.
Thank you. Love you.